Good morning. Today is May 6th, the year 2020. It is a Wednesday. We will be returning to chapter 8 of the book of Genesis in the middle of the Noah account. One of the things I want us to pay attention to today is how the language here echoes that of the creation account in Genesis 1. We will find God redoing many of the same things he had done in that previous passage. We will start with 8:1. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Genesis 1:1 begins with God's Spirit, rather 1:2 begins with God's Spirit hovering over the face of the waters. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. All right, so remember in the second day of creation, there are the waters above and the waters below. And in the flood, those two had come back together, but now they are separated again above and below. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of 150 days, the water had gone down, and on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the Mount of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. After 40 days, remember a significant number, Noah opened the window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven. It kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. That's a raven that can fly a long time. He sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground, but the dove could not find a place to set its feet because there was water over all the surface of the earth, so it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. The dove returned to him in the evening. There in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. So raven goes away, dove goes out, comes back. Dove goes out again after another week, comes back with an olive leaf. Dove goes out a third time and doesn't come back. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the water had dried up from the earth. Okay, so now the waters are removed from the land as in the third day. Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw the surface of the ground was dry. But the 27th day of the second month of the earth was completely dry. Now we will have a very repetitive section. Remember that this story was originally told out loud, not written down. And so we have these repetitive sections to maintain the flow and rhythm of the story. They are like a chorus in a song. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds and the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number upon it." So Noah came out, together with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, all the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground and all the birds. Everything that moves on the earth came out of the ark, one kind after another. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of man. Even though every inclination of his heart is evil from childhood, never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seedtime and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease." So now we come to chapter 9. God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth." An echo of Genesis 1 again. "The fear and dread of you will fall upon the beasts of the earth and all the birds in the air, upon every creature that moves on the ground, and upon all the fish of the sea. They are given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything. Okay, a modification of that sixth day of creation, where before human beings were intended only to eat plants, now it is permitted to eat flesh. But you must not eat meat that has its lifeblood in it. And for your lifeblood I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting for every animal, and from each man too. I will demand an accounting from the life of his fellow man. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God has God made them. Okay, so there we have what I was talking about earlier at the beginning of chapter 6. That I believe the flood cause was this violation of the image of God. That this tendency towards violence and bloodshed was what manifested the flood. The reason for that is this passage. The very first command after be fruitful, multiply, and eat is, and do not kill. You may eat animals, but blood is the symbol of life, and the symbol of the Creator, and you may not either eat blood, and you may not shed the blood of human beings. However, if someone commits murder, then their life is forfeit. It's well, that's a subject really beyond our present scope, the issues of capital punishment. But we may talk about that again at a later date. As for you, be fruitful and increase in number, multiply on the earth and increase upon it. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, I now establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the animals, all that came out of the ark, every living creature on earth. I will establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be cut off by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. God said, this is my sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you. Covenant for all generations to come. I've set my rainbow in the clouds and will be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds on the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures on every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and living creatures of every kind on earth. So God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all the life on earth. Now we are going to finish up the account of Noah with something of a postlude. It is a story that does not have a direct impact on our understanding of the flood narrative, but sets up what is to come. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. Okay, we were warned from the very beginning. Ham is the father of Canaan. And to us, that may not seem like a big deal. But to say Ham is the father of Canaan is to say these are the bad guys. These are the guys that ride into town with black hats on. It is a notice, a marker, that this is a story in which the evils of the Canaanites, who were perceived as the traditional enemies of Israel, is going to be manifest. Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father's nakedness and told his two brothers outside. Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it across their shoulders when they walked in backwards and covered their father's nakedness. The faces were turned the other way so that they would not see their father's nakedness. Noah woke from his wine and found out his youngest son had done to him. He said, "Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves will he be to his brothers." He also said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem. May God extend the territories of Japheth. May Japheth live long in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his slave." After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. Altogether, Noah lived 950 years, and then he died. We have an odd little story. Noah, drunk, is laying naked in his tent. Personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with him laying naked in his tent. That's the place to be naked, is inside your own tent. Ham comes in and sees his father's nakedness and goes out and tells his brothers. I'm not entirely sure what all is going on here. It might be that Ham did more than see his father's nakedness, or it may simply be the disrespect of telling his brothers. Whatever it is, Noah is unhappy, to say the least. And he curses Ham's son rather than Ham. And blesses Shem and blesses Japheth. I understand blessing Shem and blessing Japheth, but it may be that he is condemning the whole line, and the language of Canaan is used so that we don't forget these are the bad guys. This is a difficult passage in that it seems to justify the discrimination of the Canaanites for little or no reason. Nevertheless, throughout the Old Testament, the Canaanites are the problem. They are villainized. Although it's also pretty clear that a lot of them wound up becoming part of Israel through intermarriage. But here we end the account of Noah. Now let's go over the account of the sons of Shem and Ham and Japheth, which is chapter 10, till we pick up an interesting story in chapter 11. This is the account of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah's sons, who themselves had sons after the flood. The sons of Japheth: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, Tiras, the sons of Gomer. And I'll tell you what, even though I know I said that genealogies are important, and they are, the importance of these genealogies really comes more to their ancient audience than it does to us. Let us suffice to say, the sons of Japheth, in verse 5, from these the maritime people spread out to their territories by their clans with their nations, each with its own language. Each with its own language. But that's not happened yet, has it? We're going to have to go back once we get to chapter 11 to do some explaining. The sons of Ham: Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, all of whom are traditional enemies of the Israelites. Cush and Mitzrayim are Ethiopia and Egypt. Canaan, of course, is the Canaanites. Verse 8. Cush was the father of Nimrod, who grew to be a mighty warrior on the earth. He's a mighty hunter before the Lord. That is why it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The first centers of kingdom were Babylon, Erech, Akkad, Calneh, and Shinar. From that land he went to Assyria. There he built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Ir, Calah, Reshan, which is between Nineveh and Calah. This is the great city. Okay, and then we have Mitzrayim was the father of, and Canaan was the father of. Later the Canaanite clans scattered. The borders of Canaan reached to Sidon, towards Gerar as far as Gaza, and then towards Sodom, Gomorrah, Edom, Zeboim, and as far as Lasha. These are the sons of Ham by their clans and languages, and their territories and nations. Sons were born to Shem, whose older brother was Japheth. Shem was the ancestor of all the sons of Eber. And we go on of various kinds. The word we have for Jews, Semite, comes from Shem. The descendants of Shem become the Israelites. These are the clans of Noah's sons, according to their lines of descent within their nations, from these nations spread out over the earth after the flood. Okay, we're going to have one more kind of universal story. Then we're going to start focusing on the line of Shem, particularly the line of Shem to Abram. Everything up to the next section we're going to read in chapter 11 is kind of a universal account. In it, we have things that deal with all of humanity. But we're going to narrow down very quickly to a specific person and then to a specific bloodline, the line of Abram, or as he will come to be known, Abraham. Now, next time, we're going to finish up this primordial account, this primeval prologue. After that, we're going to get into the story of Abraham. We're not going to go necessarily verse by verse once we get there, but we're going to deal with an outline of Abraham's life and those of his children. Read ahead. Think of questions. If you have questions, send them to me, ask me, call me, text me, message me, email me. I imagine that you probably do about some of these stories and about their relevance. And I would be glad to work with you in answering those questions. Until next time, goodbye.